Hey, what's going on, everyone? Back with another Elliott Wave analysis for Bitcoin. Just a quick friendly reminder to hit that like button if you haven't already, and also subscribe to the channel. It really does help the channel and make me pump out more of these Bitcoin video updates. Now, following standard business practice, let's take a quick recap of where we stand from our previous ideas that we have been discussing for the past month or so that we are on the same page. As you can see here, we were discussing this idea of a possible leading contracting diagonal since early September or so, quite arguably one of the first, with high conviction to assume that this was going to be a leading diagonal because we had some strong evidence of market psychology intertwined with the strong price action off the lows, 30% to be exact. Now, that is not something to mess with. That was a very strong bounce. Now, the move off the lows was strong enough to give us conviction that bulls were taking positions and marking their territories regardless of whatever pullback we may have in store for us. We were originally anticipating a possible impulse continuation to the upside. However, we were faced with a very strong rejection that eventually gave us structure for this to move off the lows to be a three-wave move rather. The only mode of pattern going forward that we could have assumed at that point in order to create any kind of mode of wave pattern for a wave one was a leading diagonal. After we got that move off the lows and then a move down, we bounced in that golden Fibonacci zone between the 61.8% and the 78.6%. That gave us a green light. This could have been working correctively to the upside, and that is also exactly what we got. So we got another three-way move to the upside, then we got another rejection for that subwave 3, and since our last analysis, this is exactly what we were looking for, and that three-way move down is pretty much, or I would say with high conviction, is now already in. Any move to the further down, I would say that's going to be a red flag, and that's going to be a bearish continuation, but for now, everything is kind of aligning quite nicely with our narrative so far. Now, going back to our main chart, we can see that we are in, again, like I've said, possibly another round of a corrective move to the upside to confirm this 2-month narrative finally. Now, diagonals, they can be very tricky, ladies and gentlemen. They work until they don't. You can have the best possible look for a diagonal and they can fail miserably. But one thing that is interesting about diagonals is that they can fail for the better as well. Now, here's a use case study that I have shared on my social media on X. If you're not following me already, please do give me a follow on X at XForceGlobal. But as you can see here, this is an Ethereum chart. For the longest time, we were actually anticipating a possible leading diagonals back in 2022 all the way up until 2024. And we had a really nice structure because of all of these overlaps. And the only way that we could have created that mode of pattern was a leading diagonal after that low that we had from here, because that move was very strong off of the lows as well. Now, this move here is another leading diagonal that we had in mind. We were anticipating a three-way pullback, but it failed for the better and actually went to the upside. So that is why we are also working with the alternative idea that this could also be a very bullish, really strong continuation to the upside as a possible 1-2 continuation, meaning that the primary wave 1-2 could already be in and we could be working within an extension for a primary wave 3 already, and we could be already in the works for an earlier move to the upside, possibly going into the 100K as our final target. Now, this is a little bit too early to call for. However, that is something to keep in mind, that use case study, and trying to figure out what the price action has given us in the price or the history of the price action. It can give us a little bit of more clear picture on how price action works for cryptocurrency markets. Now, price action or historical price action is not indicative of the current price action, but it is something to kind of study, and it will give us a little bit of an outlook in terms of how we can kind of construct these different types of patterns. So with that being said, this whole move, as I have said, we were looking for that fourth subwave, and that is exactly what we got from our last analysis. We got that three-way move to the downside. We had a pretty clear five-way move for this impulse, the fifth wave being the diagonal going into a wave A. We had an ABC going into wave W, a triangle for wave X, and then another ABC going into a wave Y. That gave us that B wave. We also called for this, and then we were looking for another five-way move to the downside, and that looks like it's pretty much complete. Although we could have gone a little bit lower, but again, it is better right now as it is and where it stands, because it does give our diagonal a leading contracting look as best as it can. Now, when it comes to leading to contracting diagonals, just basically in characteristic fashion in the Elliott Wave Theory, it's a specific type of pattern that appears at the beginning stages of an impulse wave. Remember this. Typically in a wave 1 or a wave A of a larger movement, it's one of the few exceptions where an impulse wave takes on a corrective or an overlapping structure yet still moves in the direction of the main trend. It just works in a more delayed fashion, and we see the more accumulative phase happen first, and then we get that pullback for a larger wave 1 and then 2, and then we move to the upside for a larger wave 3, which is the expansion phase. So if we go back to the larger time frames, if we look on the larger macro structure, we have assumed that this wave 3 and 4 has completed, and what we're looking for is finally the last fifth wave of the higher degree to come into play. So with that being said, again, the overlapping structures, the only mode of pattern that we can get out of this is a leading diagonal. Yet again, it still moves in the main direction of the trend, and then we're going to be looking for an eventual cumulative pattern, and that is where we're going to be moving to the upside. Now again, I did talk about the uber bullish idea, which is going to be the idea of a primary wave 1-2 being complete, but this moves very well and in tandem with the current idea in terms of the diagonal as well, because if we have assumed that this wave 2 is complete and the diagonal actually fails for the better and we move up very impulsively, if this trend line breaks, we're going to have an immediate turn that this is going to be turning impulsively to the upside, and instead we can put this as a nested structure of a 1-2. Now, nested structures, they can work in tandem with a lot of corrective patterns, such as triangles. It's even stated in the literature. You can start making assumptions that you may be working in a larger 1-2-1-2 pattern, and I would say arguably it's all the same idea for the diagonal as well, because you're having overlapping structures that can be also in tandem with possible 1-2-1-2 structures. So this is why we have that case study where Ethereum also moved to the upside for the better, although this is kind of working in a different pattern by now, but it is something to keep in mind that if they fail for the better, they can move to the upside as well. So this is something that you also should keep in mind in terms of where this wave 3 could be coming in. Is it going to be coming in now, or is it going to be coming at an earlier stage with that diagonal idea where we come for a 1-2 pullback a little bit later, and then we get that wave 3? That is going to be how we're looking at the current narrative, as long as this protected lows and bottom. Now, what's next? What is the invalidation levels? Again, if we're going to be breaking this soft invalidation, we are creating more soft invalidations as we continue higher. So it does get a little bit riskier for longs, and it would be best to wait in terms of the simple trading strategy to wait for confirmation. Even if we do move to the upside, I wouldn't get too much caught up in our pants or your pants that we should be working possibly for another corrective move to the downside that is possibly in store if this diagonal idea is going to be playing out, and that is going to be the biggest opportunity, and this will be a very strong scare tactic for a lot of bulls, because I think this is where if we do get a controlled pullback, this will be a great buying opportunity. It's not financial advice, but again, I did put a note here. We must anticipate a controlled pullback for an eventual primary wave 1-2. If we have this in play, that boosts the probability by a significant amount. If we do get this fifth wave to the upside and we get a rejection, we can assume that this diagonal is complete and we're working for a three-way move to the downside of a larger degree, which is going to be this primary degree, and then we're going to be working for the upside. Now, if we break this diagonal to the upside, fantastic. It's in our favor, and we just switch to the very bullish idea. So we got two of these main ideas in tandem working with each other. So that's how I'm currently seeing it. I don't want to be discussing the bearish ideas. If you want to watch the bearish idea, I did discuss that in my previous videos for the Bitcoin video, so please go back and watch those videos. I highly recommend, and really will tell you guys it's very important to watch these videos throughout, and very important to watch these videos as they are uploaded minute by minute that passes. They get very, very difficult because the Elliott Wave Theory changes as the wave. That's why we call it Elliott Waves. The waves, you move with the waves. It's going to be a very, very quick time for how these uploads are going to be happening in a timely manner. So thank you very much. If you guys haven't already subscribed to the channel, please, one more time, a quick friendly reminder to like and also subscribe. Thank you very much. Hopefully that was helpful for this Bitcoin analysis. I'll see you guys in the next Bitcoin video update, or possibly another altcoin update. Thank you very much. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye, and have a fantastic Monday.